Hi, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about hair. I'd like to do a demo for you, and before I start I'd like to make a couple points. I think hair is probably one of the intimidating things when people are drawing. They think it's probably ruined their picture. Often it becomes too flat, overworked, stiff and unnatural, and they don't really know what to do once they have gone too far with something. I would like you to be able to practice the tapered stroke and practice, so that by the time you get to the place where you're putting your hair, which I do pretty much at the last of my picture, that you'll have an opportunity to have all the flow and grace you possibly can have, so that your hair will look natural, with enough control that you can do what you want with it. It's another opportunity for you to play around with this tapered stroke. There's a couple other things that I would like to suggest to you. That this is an opportunity to start thinking about the slight variations in value. If you can become more discerning, that you see a gradation going from dark to light or vice versa. And that will really help you be able to do things with hair that you don't see much detail in. You can use some common sense and know that everything gets darker where it goes to where there's less light, and everything becomes lighter when it comes to where there's more light. And so it really helps you be able to, find some contour, find some depth, and give a realism to your hair. One of the other things that I use with hair that it's kind of contrary to my normal procedure. As you listen to me, you'll find out that I usually always start with a 4H pencil. And I like to start from the lightest to the darkest and start building my picture up that way. But with the hair, I make an exception. I don't want to overwork the hair. It's probably one of the things that goes wrong with hair the most, is it's just overworked. Trying to make it right, trying to correct things. And it gets all plugged up. I want to be able to have as much texture as I possibly can, and I want to get there fairly quickly, so I don't overwork it. And I do this a lot because I use my 2B pencil. I may do just a slight preliminary sketching in of the direction and where a part is and a few important things about the hair I'm looking at. But I want to do the bulk of my drawing with my 2B pencil. It helps me get there quicker. It helps me have some extra lead to work with because it's a soft pencil. And that brings in one more thing, in that I use my brush. I don't like to use my brush on very many things on my picture except to keep house, to maybe brush aside some graphite fragments after sharpening your pencil. It might be a little bit of some fragments from your eraser that you want to get off, just house dust. You want to make sure that you keep your picture clean. But I don't want you to burnish faces and different things like that, because that subtle texture is so important. But I'd like you to be able to refine it so that it contrasts with the hair. The contrast with that texture of the hair is one of the things that's really going to be an advantage. And so I will go ahead, as I'm going to demonstrate, and use my brush to limit the amount of time I'm spending on my hair and yet maintain the texture. So let's go ahead and get started with a little demonstration here. Okay, let me demonstrate some hair for you. Let's talk about a couple of things, or a few of the things that we want to pay attention to. We want to have a sharp pencil. I'm going to sharpen it. We want to have picked the right side of our paper, which is the smoother of the two sides, using the vellum. We want to be able to utilize our 2B now. This is going to be kind of completely different than when I draw normally. I'm starting with my 4H. But I want to be able to utilize my 2B because it will be a little softer, giving us some extra lead, which you'll see how I'm going to use that in a little bit. I want to be able to use my tapered stroke, and I want to know that I'm pulling towards a highlight. As you locate that highlight on your subject, use your best tapered stroke, which is usually where you're leaving the paper and pulling towards you, and pull that towards the highlight. I'm going to show you a couple things that can go wrong, as well as I want you to notice that I'm going to leave spaces in between the lines instead of making it solid. I really don't want to overwork this. Another good opportunity for us to use this 2B, because we won't have to work so hard to bring it up to the value we want. Pulling towards the highlight. Now I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to pull, again, my best tapered stroke towards that highlight from the other end. It's going to be a little different because instead of being able to plant my hand down and using that pivot point, I'm going to have to do a little bit of adaptation here, and I'm going to have to go ahead and extend my fingers, and I want to pull towards that highlight. Hair is very, very forgiving because, again, it's always in a state of change. There's hairs that are sticking out and whatever. So it's really not necessary to get it totally perfect, but I don't want it to just be chaos and show, just confusion. So now you'll see one of the problems. I want to be able to bring some of my lines, and they will be the lighter ends of my tapered stroke, through the highlight. I don't want to just leave it blank like this, because if it's blank, it's just flat. So let's go ahead and take that in consideration, and I'm going to solve that problem by by extending or making random lengths to my stroke this time.